How's it going, everybody? My name is Phase Crypto, and welcome to another episode of Crypto Clout. Today, we're going to be talking about ZenCash and the problem of scalability that's currently existing in the cryptocurrency space is really going to be coming to the front and center of the conversation that's happening within the cryptocurrency community. And I believe that the way that ZenCash is positioning themselves to approach this coming dilemma that's essentially going to be opening up vast amounts of markets for people to essentially develop these different programs that are going to really collaborate with the way that the system has these openings. It's exciting in multitude of ways. So looking forward to seeing ZenCash in the way that they've been currently performing, but in a lot of different ways as well. Cryptocurrencies like ZenCash are really in a perfect position as the wave of decentralization is really moving forward and challenging the old paradigm. It's ultimately a representation of what's been happening with cryptocurrency across the board. We've been seeing ultimately various different elements of this happening on all different levels of cryptocurrency, and it seems as if ZenCash is right with the times. My understanding of ZenCash is fundamentally data driven, and I've found that it's important to pay attention to the team that's been working on these technologies. And ultimately, it seems as if ZenCash within the next few years will be certainly one of those household name cryptocurrencies because they're so far ahead of the other technologies when it comes to scalability, which is ultimately going to be the determining factor of the surviving technologies as we continue to move forward. The people care about the decentralized internet. The people have a demand for it. It's really essential for a lot of the various different freedoms that people enjoy on the internet. Now, I'm not saying that decentralizing the internet is ultimately the end-all be-all solution to the current circumstances that various different large tech companies basically have a monopoly on the current way that people consume media on the internet, and this is generally understood among the community. But it is interesting to see how cryptocurrency is really breaking the mold and ultimately opening up a new opportunity for this sort of new paradigm. And it's happening hand in hand with what we can see happening in the media. The public is becoming more conscious of their data and the various different mechanisms that had previously provided information for the public are being questioned, and it's really opening up a possibility for a decentralized network to really dominate in this space. So ZenCash is certainly on my radar. I'm looking forward to the future and how we've been advancing, and it seems as if this technology is really starting to gain a lot of public attention, in particular when you pay attention to the fact that where it is right now, 27.96, and I mean on a regular day might not be as impressive, but of course in a day like today when we're seeing everything in the red, and so in the red, and then of course we come across the one technology that seems to be doing good, it definitely does have a interesting reflection on the way that of course that's not the end all be all of information, of course, as well, but it is an interesting indication of information when it comes to the advancement of this technology and seeing where it's going to be going in the future in that regard. But just looking at the various different news articles regarding ZenCash, it is interesting to pay attention to how the public consciousness has been adjusting to this technology as it's been continued to be moving forward. And in particular, it's interesting to see how as it currently stands in the number 89 position, I think that ZenCash, as it's been currently performing, it does have a lot of potential in store for it. as we continue to move forward. I think that there's a lot of components that are coming together in respect to this technology that are really going to service it in a long way, in particular where we've been experiencing the totality of the cryptocurrency climate as it currently stands. This sort of performance really definitely does stand out in a big way. There is undeniably a lot of red currently when we look across the board. Ultimately, it seems as if every cryptocurrency is being affected by the current circumstances that are happening in this climate. And of course, it is important to notice the technologies that are maintain themselves in the green, Bitcoin private in particular. And I think that that's sort of a testament to privacy technology in cryptocurrency in general, sort of a tip of the hat as far as an indicator of the way things go, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and seeing these various technologies that are doing well even in this market. It is definitely interesting to see ZenCash up 30% definitely in the light of all these different circumstances and dynamics. And this is fundamentally why we stress on this show that it's important to do your own research when it comes to the technologies that you're interested in when it comes to cryptocurrency, because it's such a volatile space, but you can understand where these trends are headed when you basically look at the past, you look at the present, you look at the various different projections for the future. But of course, you have to ultimately understand how things are developing in accordance with the public definition of how people perceive cryptocurrencies and the ways that these technologies can be implemented into our day-to-day lives. So it is interesting to see a technology interacting with the community, and of course the overall trajectory of things, and of course a one-day movement of 30%. Well, now that I click on it, it's down 2%, but still nothing to sneeze at there. That's very interesting momentum, in particular when you consider the fact that we're at the time of this video, we're standing at the $353 billion market cap. So there are a lot of different variables that have been coming together, and it is in particular very interesting to see how these different technologies have been advancing. I've been following ZenCash for quite some time, so it is interesting to see them breaking a lot of the resistance and really moving upwards, especially when you consider the fact that we weren't seeing this sort of activity. It's pretty much mirrored about a year ago back in June, but of course it is interesting to see these sort of momentum and so forth. The possibility for upward mobility is there, so it is interesting to be paying attention to these technologies as they've been developing and really shaping the way that cryptocurrency has been moving forward. So when I look at this the list of cryptocurrencies and I pay attention to the various different dynamics that are happening across the board, I always think to myself, how are these technologies going to be acting in the real world, and what are the ultimate goals that are being aimed for, and how is this going to collaborate with the public consciousness and ultimately result in some interesting variables coming together. So ZenCash is certainly one of those technologies we've spoken about before on this show, but it is important to go over these various different details because, of course, in markets like today, this sort of volatility speaks for itself. And I am in particular feeling very zen about the current circumstances with the cryptocurrency market. Currently, it is interesting to be paying attention to the fact that we are still in the midst of the correction that people were hoping that we had been out of. But when you take a look at the chart, clearly those spikes moving upward and downward, we still have a long way to go before we start hitting those $1 trillion valuations fluctuations in respect to the total market cap, but we're going to get there. It is interesting to be paying attention to how we are currently sitting in respect to cryptocurrency. I'm in particular paying attention to Nucleus Vision as well. Looking forward to seeing the various things that are going to be happening. And of course, it's not entirely to blame on any one of these technologies in particular with where they stand in the 24-hour change. Of course, this could flip in a day. Tomorrow we could see green all across the board, and everybody would be celebrating. And it is interesting to see how people in all these different communities, when they see things in the red like this, they're so quick to criticize cryptocurrency. But for those of us who've been involved with cryptocurrency for any amount of years, we are pretty much wise to the fact that this is a pretty normal occurrence. And ultimately, it comes down to the research and the confidence that you have in the individual technologies. Seeing ZCash in the green, of course, too, in the light of all this red, ultimate. I mean, I'd imagine for people who are involved with Bitcoin Diamond, seeing it down 14% can't make them too happy. But of course, you do have to remember how early we are in respect to cryptocurrency. And in this space, what happens is over the course of 1 week in real world time really is months and months in cryptocurrency time, because there's so many variables happening involving each of these names on an international scale that it is interesting to see how much development is in store for these technologies and so forth. So I'm very excited to be seeing where things can be headed, and it is an interesting indicator of where things currently stand. So of course, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is not financial advice. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. I'm not your dad. The whole purpose of me making this video is so that I can share my opinion with you. And of course, I'm always interested in hearing your opinion when it comes to cryptocurrencies and so forth, because, when we see upward mobility like this, it's important to, I would like to hear about things like these, that I would like to get a tip from somebody telling me on March 14th that something like this was going to be happening on March 22nd. I think we'd all like to be in the know, and it is, I actually have been able to have some really interesting conversations with people who I've met through Twitter and met through all these various different social media programs. So I definitely recommend everybody go and follow ZenCash on their official Twitter. Twitter really is a great resource when it comes to gaining information regarding cryptocurrencies and of course interacting with the community. And in the respect of in that light, I'm actually going to be including a link to my Twitter down in the description down below. You guys can connect with me at CryptoTuber, and of course we are branching out to multiple different social media platforms, and the new community channel is up and running. We just made this a few days ago, and we already have 50 followers, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm always any follower, even if it was one follower, I'm always interested in connecting with anybody out there. So in particular, I think that this community is growing because it's built on friendships that have been really long standing, and I think as we continue to move forward, we'll see more people joining Crypto Clout, and in that regard also feel free to contact me. I'll actually be including a link to the Crypto Clout Twitter, so if you want to send me a tweet, and perhaps you could have a featured guest appearance video on the new channel that we've been growing across multiple different platforms, because I think it's important to give a voice to everybody in this community who has something important to offer. And I don't really care if you have any social media clout. I don't care if you have any YouTube subscribers or whatever. For me, it's more about the information. And if you can provide interesting insights regarding cryptocurrency, contact me and we can perhaps work something out. But all that being said, I think it is interesting to see where where things have been headed. It's in particular, you need to pay attention to Bitcoin and what's been happening. Of course, with that 7,950, some people would say that that's a sale. Some people would say that that's that's an opportunity for people to make some serious gains. I know John McCafe would probably say that that's a pretty interesting sale. Isn't that dude credited with his statements of saying that he'd chop his balls off if crypto wasn't worth like $1 million by 2020 or something like that? You guys can correct me on that quote, but I know it's somewhere out there on the internet. But yeah, according to John McCafe, Bitcoin is very on sale, in coordination with what you might expect it to be in a few years. And if you take into consideration random currencies all around the world, like the United States currency, and how their value might be going down over a course of years, and however those different variables interact, and then of course if Bitcoin's value goes up and the value of other currencies goes down, there is a possibility. I mean, I know that math has been done time and time again, but it is interesting to do those calculations, because cryptocurrency definitely does have a lot of different applications that are available for it in the future. And me in particular, from my data analytical perspective, I would say that ZenCash is really an interesting technology that I've been looking forward to, and I definitely recommend that everybody do some research into this technology. I mean, up 27%, especially in the current circumstances and dynamics, really speaks for itself. But of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and of course, comment and share, and also follow on our Twitters and so forth. I'll be including a link to this Twitter down in the description, and of course, make sure that you go and check out this technology. And I think that their information really speaks for themselves. So all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this content. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. So in the spirit of providing different opinions and different perspectives, I'm actually going to be including a link to this video by Decentralized TV. I'll actually be including a link to this video down in the description. I think this gentleman has a very interesting perspective, and he's very informative. He actually goes over a lot of the interesting details that we've spoken about in this content, and expands upon them in a really interesting way. So it is interesting to pay attention to different people's perspectives, and I think you guys will benefit from this. This is just a 5-minute video, and it'll really enlighten you in respect to ZenCash. And yeah, so if you guys are interested in connecting with the community, make sure that you follow on the new Twitter, as well as make sure that you follow ZenCash on their official Twitter. And ultimately, it does look like things are going pretty interesting for ZenCash, so I'll leave you guys with that.